Hello, everyone, and welcome into MVP Sports. I am your host, Soapy Muffins, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
How are you doing on this wonderful Thursday?
Not great. Not great. Gonna stay reclined as long as I possibly can.
Hey, some people
Just,
who are into lakes, Dave, they're going to appreciate that.
I do have some shins, you know, but yeah, that's where we're at today.
Hey, we've seen you have feet, now we see you have shins.
Well, I'm trying to keep those off. I know there are some people who, are like creepy like that, so I will do
Hey,
my best to keep those feet off the camera.
we're not here to kink shame, though. We're here to talk about some sports. But before we get into that, we are going to do a bit of housekeeping before then. If you want to join the Discord, go to the description below. There you can join one of the best communities on the internet. There you can talk about basketball, football, soccer, hockey, TV shows, gaming, because we have the Summer Game Fest and E3 coming up. So boom, you can go there and talk about that with us. Want to support us at a monetary value, you can go to patreon.com/MVPvids. There you can join at one of four tiers: bronze, silver, gold, or platinum. Bronze lets you get into voice channels. Silver lets you vote out Wet Boys. Gold lets you get content a week early, which actually, Dave, we got a new thing going up tonight.
We do have a new video.
It's my
draft
mock.
related. Yeah.
We get my mock coming up, so you guys can make fun of me, but only for this week at least. If you're a patron, if you're a gold patron,
There you go.
$10 to make fun of me.
That's a good deal.
If you want to go to $25 tier and get shouted out every single episode, like our wonderful sponsor Pat Hill.
Thank you, Pat.
I mean, those are the wonderful benefits of Patreon. Moving on, obviously we're on YouTube. But my mock will go up a week after it's on Patreon, so you guys get to enjoy that wonderful bit. So we're gonna move right into playoff basketball, and my bracket looked pretty good after round. Oh,
Did
not
it?
somewhat, kinda.
Did it?
All the big players were there. I mean, hey, I only got 3 things wrong. Actually, I think I only got 2 things wrong. My East first round was the only part that was wrong, but now my bracket's looking like it's going to fall apart.
Yeah.
AKA, we saw yesterday, it's basically a funeral. Saw Nuggets Jazz, or not Nuggets Jazz, Nuggets Suns. I don't know why I have Jazz on my mind. I looked at tonight's games.
I say there's
Suns.
one competitive series right now. It looks like in the playoffs.
Yeah. With Nuggets Suns, that was a rip. The final score was 98 to 123. Man, I guess I could take a victory lap. I got the first round right. Oh,
yeah. Go for it.
It's just turned into a slaughter. And just kind of a thing I wanted to point out with it as well of, honestly feels like, and obviously this Nuggets team ran into the Suns at a really bad time because it caught fire, looks healthy from his shoulder injury again, and they also may have ran into the best defensive team left in the playoffs, so that's scary, especially when you're a team that's missing arguably your best offensive player, if you want to count Murray better than Jokic at offense.
Well, we won't because we're not stupid. Their second best offensive player.
I mean, hey, there are some people who may think that. I don't.
There's some people who are wrong. I'll allow it.
Hey, everyone's allowed to be wrong at least once. But it's just they ran into the Suns team at a really bad time. Michael Porter seems to have gone cold a little bit, especially in last game. And it really seems like Jokic just kind of the only one showing up to play. I mean, like, you're getting, like, points out of Millsap, but at the same time, it's, like, really the one guy you want points out of.
KPJ had back tightness again, which, shocker, the man with a terrible back injury history and bad knees has back tightness. Well, that won't help his shot. So, I mean, that's what you get. It's part of the pay. He is a great shooter most nights, but unfortunately, when the back acts up, you got to roll with those punches.
On the Suns' end, it was basically the whole team just destroyed the Nuggets.
I said KPJ, I meant MPJ. My bad. That realization just hit.
It's just looking at the Suns starters. Every one of their starters scored in double digits. Chris Paul had an amazing 17 and 15 game. Essentially, when a whole starting lineup can drop 10 points on you at that point, it's just kind of it's basically a burial. Especially when I think the only 2 starters for the Nuggets. Let me double check real quick. Nuggets had 4 people scoring double digits. 2 of them the people you expect, which is Jokic and Porter, and then Burton and Millsap. And the Suns had, I gotta count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 people score in double digits. Like 3 more people get really close to it. Frank the Tank even got 5. That's tough.
Yep.
Frank the Tank comes in, is even cooking you. That's a dangerous time. Sad time.
It need to happen though. I mean, like this is. I mean, no one expected the Nuggets really to get too much further than the second round with missing out on Murray. So I think this is just kind of like, hey, we know exactly where they're at. This is not a shocker. There's no like they need to get Jokic more help. Like that's not really the situation. You know, when they had Murray, Gordon, MPJ, and Jokic out there, like if they had like 5 healthy guards instead of like none, this would be a very, very competitive team with Western Conference Finals aspirations, but they're not. So I think a lot of reasonable people are just like, "Eh, Suns beat the Lakers. Suns are probably going to be the favorites going forward." They're fully healthy with Chris Paul at the moment, so why wouldn't they be?
I just, obviously I was the one who had the Nuggets go to the Western Conference Finals. I still really believed in this team. It's kind of biting the ass a little bit.
A little.
Obviously, I thought Monte Morris would play a lot better. Obviously, he's been kind of dealing with injuries on and off this year, so Campazzo had a really good first game and a pretty bad second game.
I mean, shooting wise, yes, he's a good player, a veteran rookie, quote unquote, to the NBA. But yeah, if you're counting on him to get you 15, 20 a night, that is a problem already in itself.
Yeah, so obviously, hopefully, it can become competitive. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
it could be closer.
For the sake of my bracket, I want it to be competitive, okay?
It could get closer, but I don't see a way the Nuggets win out a series against a healthy Suns team right now.
I think they can maybe sneak out one game. Even at that,
sure.
You need like a
yeah,
Jokic, like 50-pointer.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going to happen in this series. Especially just with how defensively dominant the Suns are.
Yeah.
Moving into tonight's games, we have Bucks, and is it fair to say the Bucks go down 3?
I mean, I don't know how they come back right now. It just feels bad watching them not have an answer. Like PJ Tucker, for all the love that we've given him in the last 4 years for being, an all NBA level defender. I mean, it doesn't matter how good you are when you're going up against like a 7-1 KD. Like it's just not fair. You're not going to slow him down. You're not going to stop him. So I think it's just a matter of like it's kind of futile at this point. If Chris Middleton isn't putting up his 50, 40, 90 line, you're not going to win. You're not going to compete really at all. It really just comes down to if Chris Middleton decides to play like the player he is during the regular season, or if he remains clamped down, then yeah, this shit's over.
And I think as well, I remember I made this point in the Discord a couple. I was having a conversation with Jake about it. Jake, I think you're in YouTube chat. Correct me if I'm wrong. I had basically said like I made my Bucks prediction in the wrong in the wrong order, where I said they were going to get outcoached in round 1, but it turns out, coached in round 2.
Is it outcoached though? I mean, like there's just a clear talent line, and I mean that my opinion of this series is like Drew Holiday is doing what Drew should be doing. Giannis, more or less, I would like him to attack the rim more. I'd like him to put the ball in his own hands more often. But like, really, it comes down to just Chris Middleton and then just a massive talent gap between the Nets and their role players shooting phenomenally.
I mean, the reason I in the getting out coached is the fact of we're still seeing drop coverage against a team that almost everyone on the court can shoot threes. Not at elite levels, but we're seeing drop coverage on people like KD and Kyrie, where it's like, okay, bud, you need to stop. You can maybe do that against Bruce Brown. You maybe shouldn't do it against the 2 best 3-point shooters on the court for your team, along with the fact that they also keep doing it against Harris as well.
That's fair. That's an entirely fair criticism of his coaching strategy.
It's basically he's trying to be like, oh, let's make one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the league to hit threes against us. It's like, no, bud, you probably shouldn't do that. You should probably focus on, I don't know, trying to at least contain one of them.
Yeah. Can, but you could try.
And hey, if you can keep at least one of them under 30, you got a slight chance if Chris Midd decides to be good at basketball again. Who knows? Maybe he will, maybe he won't.
I mean, your best bet is to aggravate Kyrie into a bad shooting night and like keep egging him on so, he ends up like 12 of 33 or something like that, you know? Like that's your best case scenario to win the series out because KD's on his worst night is still a better shooter than everybody else in the court. So you really just got to play mind games with Kyrie Irving to hopefully get him like ignoring the game plan, you know?
And I guess to wrap up this topic, or at least for this matchup, do you think that this game will be close?
No, no, I'm leaning the same way that it's been the last couple games. It'll be over relatively early, and I'm just hoping that KD and Kyrie stay healthy. That's all it comes down to. Keep healthy. That you don't want to break them.
True, especially with the fact that we don't really know when Harden's set to return.
It sounded like Harden probably could go if they needed him in this series, but they've already kind of been like, we're good, buddy. You just rest up.
And moving on to the last game for tonight, we have probably the best series in the first round, I would say. In Clippers Jazz, obviously we did get the news that Mike Conley is not playing in this one again, and the last game was really competitive all the way to the very end until Marcus Morris tried to sidestep a 7'9" wingspan.
Why?
But I may, Dave, what are your thoughts on this game? Do you think the Clippers can finally eke out a win?
I I think if it's any game, it is tonight. It feels like Conley being out is still their best chance. If Paul George can get his offensive game going, absolutely. Like this is a series where if we watch the adjustments that Ty Lue was forced into making in the first round, and he's carried over some of those into the second round. And obviously, if Reggie stays out of foul trouble and Kennard gets his minutes in, really just comes down to like how well Paul George can play at the wing and if he can get himself going out there because I feel like they've got the talent to do it. They've got the talent to beat the Jazz, but man, the Jazz just team basketball and then you throw the Donovan Mitchell like attack on top. It's hard to stop them.
And I'm leaning towards the Clippers winning this one, and it mostly is because of Mike Conley.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to get a super bad game out of Paul George once again. Obviously, he didn't have like an insanely bad. He had a really bad shooting.
4-17, yeah.
But like, it didn't look insanely terrible. It wasn't like 0 of 17. At least he had like a couple.
He did live at the line, and he I think it was like 9-9 at the line or 9-10. So I mean, he got points still for them, but it was just ineffective shooting, and I think that's the Jazz being such a great wing team. I mean, it's a great matchup for them if they were full strength. I think healthy Mike Conley puts them over the top into like 75% chance the Jazz win the series. But if the Clippers can steal one here, and then take the show on the back home, like I'd love to see what happens. I think that become like it's already the best series because it's the most competitive, but like I think that would really be a show for us.
Yeah. And as well, obviously I had my Western Conference Finals having the Clippers in it. I think if Conley's healthy, I honestly, and I'm not even trying to be overreactive, I don't see the Clippers winning it. It's simply because the fact that, obviously, don't get me wrong, both stars for LA didn't play super great. Kawhi mostly showed up in the fourth quarter, and PG just kind of played.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get 18 points out of Luke Kennard every night, as much as it pains me to say that.
He's shooting fire. I will take nothing less.
But once again, it's also, we saw every time Luke Kennard wasn't involved in a defensive play, it was like, no, come on, man, don't do my boy like that.
Okay, the fourth quarter Luke Kennard, Donovan Mitchell showdowns were not really ideal. But you know what? You take what you get. If you want to have a great shooter on the court, that's what you get with Luke Kennard.
Yeah. And obviously, I'm in a weird spot, Dave. I want to root for the Clippers because of Luke Kennard. Yep. I also don't want to root for them because of Reggie. I'm in a lose-lose here.
Reggie has been the third best player on the Clippers. Shouldn't you be happy about that?
Oh, I hate Reggie.
Why do you hate him? He's a selfish point guard who plays bad basketball. And
Really
now
good
now
job by
he's
team.
helping a team win games instead of lose them games because it's
He
like
helped
maybe you
the
never
team
should
win
have been a
overseas.
number one option, you know?
I mean, it just I don't know. I just have a hate boner for him, and it'll never go away.
I guess. Should probably see a doctor about that.
Maybe I don't know. I mean, the hate boner has lasted for quite a while, so
Yeah,
probably
that's what I'm
should get it
saying.
checked out. That kind of just ends the games for tonight. Obviously, the game's tomorrow. We talked about tomorrow, but going into the sake of the video, we're gonna be talking about the Clippers draft. And if I remember correctly, let me think on so I can make sure I have the correct draft pick here. I'm not being a big old dum dum.
Nah, never.
Just so I can make sure I say the right pick. So they have the 25th pick, and I guess more or less to start this conversation off, if they went with a positional need, which obviously by this point they probably should just take BPA, not so much position. If you were to say a positional need they definitely need, which position do you think they should go for?
I mean, Tankathon, yet again, just predicting the future. In an ideal situation, the Clippers get a pass first point guard at this point in the draft. Someone who can contribute, help run an offense, ball handle for them because relying on playoff Rondo, the effects are now lessening at this point in his career, you know? He's had a couple of rough games out here. I'm not saying he can't still turn it back. I'm just saying like they have to address that because I like you don't think that Reggie is the solution long term. Tankathon has Sharif Cooper going here. I think there's no goddamn way he will be available at 25 for them. But I think that they should look to a ball handling point guard. The problem is like I feel like the Clippers are in such a situation where if you're trying to get a point guard in the draft to help a team be pushed over the top to a championship in the 20s, like I think you're more likely to find yourself into like a sign-in trade, including the pick, or a trade with the pick for a proven player, right? That kind of seems like the more likely scenario, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think they could be a team that, like, a veteran guard becomes available. I don't know exactly who that would be. But, like, for instance, I just would say a random name. Like, if they wanted to get, like, a Ricky Rubio,
I think Rubio
someone.
would be great. I think Chris Dunn's a name who, now that he's basically had a year off with his injury, he's going to be 100% healthy. So somebody might want to kick the tires on that situation.
I mean, there's always a chance of that. But I'm trying to think just of a. I do think point guard is one of the needs. I also kind of think a center may be of need, and obviously I know that sounds weird, like with Zubac and Ibaka being your rotation, but once again,
Ibaka
they
out with
don't,
his injury, what good is
especially
he if he's
since,
not healthy?
and as well of obviously Tankathon has this person still here at this point. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if they're still here with Quita.
Yeah.
I think there's a very good chance that if he's there, they could be like, oh, let's get this guy. Obviously, I know. I think it was what did they take a center last year, if I remember correctly, in like the second or something? Didn't they take like Daniel
Uh,
Oturu?
yeah, that name. I remember Daniel too. I'm trying to remember if he went to the Clippers at the end of the day. You might be right. Let's
I,
pull it up. Clippers 2020 draft. Do, 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 do. Hey. Yeah. They takes a long time. Yeah, Turu and Scrub, I think.
yeah, I think just if I had to say like take that experienced big man because obviously Quita is a junior, so he has some experience. He's an upperclassman as well. His primary thing is a defender, and what do you need? That's basically the polar opposite of Zubac. That basically is what Ibaka is, a defender.
Yeah. Yep.
Obviously, he doesn't really have the offensive versatility that Ibaka has with the three-point shot and being able to stretch the floor. But once again, at the same time, he's just kind of a needs to just needs to fucking sorry, my bad. I got like a Discord notification that threw me off for a second.
Gotcha.
They just kind of need a guy that is able to just step in and just basically hold the paint down for his own.
Yeah. No, I mean, like the thing is, like Achuru is only 6'8". God, I remember him being taller in college. I thought he was 6'10". But I really liked him. I remember talking about him early last year. Big fan of his gameplay. But he never seemed to have get consistent run with this Clipper squad throughout the year. And again, it's a playoff team, so young guys have to really earn their time out there, especially under Ty Lue, someone who does not like going after young, like giving young players a ton of run. So I think that the expectation maybe if they do go with like a Queta though, like there's a chance. I see in chat Charles Bassey brought up. You're just trying to trigger me right now. I don't have the energy. Like I feel so sick right now. If I get up to head to death, I apologize. But yeah, like I think that going after someone older is a great idea in the draft. I think Koita has great defensive potential to translate right away into the NBA. But it feels like they are just stuck taking BPA regardless, I think, unless this pick's traded. Like it really is like a weird situation because they have clear needs. Like we talked about it, point guard and big, both desperately, holes. They seem to have a great depth at the wing position. Rediscovering Nick Batum when everybody else had written him off. I don't know if that was a bit of a Nick Batum situation where you're gonna pay me now to try or show up, sure, but whatever that situation was, it worked out really well for him and the Clippers. But yeah, I think that it's really just comes down to if they can get a guard with defense facilitating, an eensy bit of shooting, just an eensy bit of shooting, would be great, or a defensive center who can start, right away, a big body to soak up some time in the paint and be a rim protector. And that late in the draft, I think Quaid is a great option. Day'Ron Sharp's someone who I've seen go anywhere from like late teen or mid teens to 35. I don't think that he's the guy for me for this team. I think he's someone who, yeah, he's a great bouncy rebounder, but like he is not the guy who is going to give them like insane rim protection and kind of be able to body guys up day one in the NBA. If he was more of a built man, like fighting in the paint like beef stew style, sure, but it just doesn't seem like his game.
Hey, if Day'Ron Sharp's built like a fucking door frame, like fucking Stu is, then take him.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a bunch of names getting thrown out into it, so let's just kind of look over some of them. See, Sharif Cooper got thrown out. Jared Butler, Kai Jones, Jaden Springer, Isaiah Jackson.
McBride's an interesting one. I think I picked up all of a sudden there seems to be a big push for him on like the NBA draft subreddit, talking about how he is being overlooked because of his age and maybe the level of competition over there. Honestly, like he wouldn't be a bad grab. I assume Butler will be gone and Cooper will be gone. Kai Jones is far too raw for this team to fit in my mind, but 24 seconds. I do think that McBride probably is an immediate impact player where like Jaden Springer, I love the kid, but he's also like one of the youngest kids in the draft. So it just feels like they would go a different direction. So I think McBride's actually a legitimately great idea to toss out there.
And just with some of the other names, like I think a lot of them would be off my board by this point. Like I know, basically for anyone who is new to MVP sports, basically been dick riding Isaiah Jackson ever since we started all the draft content.
Yep.
Haven't going lottery, so I don't think he's here at that point. I think McBride from that like first initial list is the only one I still have there, but I think he is a good option. Obviously, this draft is filled with a lot of good point guard prospects just in general, where you have, or at least maybe not
potential
good,
guard
like,
prospects. I don't know. The problem is I don't know if I see them all as point guards in the NBA. Like there's a lot of guard prospects. I will agree to that. Like, and it's a good mix. We've got some guys who are excellent shooters, some guys who are upperclassmen, great defenders. It's just you got to find the right niche for your team. What exactly are you looking for out of your guard? And I think this is a team that you're looking for a pass first guy who can defend and maybe stretch the floor a bit. That does check quite a few boxes for some of these guys. So,
and I guess just another like veteran name that's thrown out there. Like I know I haven't ever seen this person near this range. Maybe they're just a team that was scouted more. McKinley Wright, I believe it's the fourth. I don't remember Roman numeral well.
really,
Kind of upperclassman, like playmaker, like kind of fills what they need. Obviously, he's not a great 3-point shooter.
no, that's not a name I'm super familiar with. I'll be honest.
He's a senior out of Colorado.
Oh, he's the other guy out of Colorado. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I fell in love with their wing who did not come out this year. He'll be out next year, and he's already in like my top 15 for next year, which is hilarious. But yeah, that makes sense.
I think I could see him being a player who goes here. So just because of that kind of like playmaking ability as well of like he's shown a really good knack of being able to draw fouls. Like won't be the greatest shooter in the NBA. At the same time, it's also if he's paired around with enough shooting, he can mask it kind of well. Let's
Mm-hmm.
see, it's kind of hard to hide bad shooting in the NBA, mostly because like unless you have like such
Uh, Soapy's Discord go boom. Think he's saying unless you have such physical or something ad libbing what Soapy was going with, seeing if he'll come back.
there we go. Yeah, my
Oh, he's
fucking
back.
yeah, the blue Yeti for some reason randomly just cuts out. I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like. I think it's hard to hide bad shooting because the fact of like people just crowd the paint unless you have like such physical gifts like someone like Giannis who's just like oh fuck you I'll just plow through you. I don't think McKinley's a player like that, but I think he's crafty enough
Okay.
to be able to kind of hide it. Plus with the fact of like how he's able to read the court and with the fact he's stepping into the NBA, I believe he's gonna be 23 by the time
Oh, wow.
he's gonna be 23 by the time he plays. So it's basically like okay, you got like a young vet on the team, and like obviously he's also not the greatest defender in the world. Like he doesn't read passing lanes too well, but like he's able to read the court well enough to not be a floor general, but having someone like a Rondo around him could definitely help him.
No,
So I think he could be a prospect they may take a look at.
A couple other names in chat. Io DeSumo. I don't think he's a great fit because he is not a pass first point guard. He's grown so much as a player. I'm not putting it past him, but it feels like he would be more of what Reggie Jackson already is for this team. If they wanted to keep Reggie, I'm sure the price will be right. Kind of a situation. Trey Mann would be interesting because then you can have Trey and Terrence Mann.
The man court.
Man to man, which would be fantastic. Again, he's a bigger guard. Seemed to really pop off this year. Enjoy his upside from a shooting standpoint, defensively lacking but not clueless. So that one would be interesting. And the last name out there, Bones, obviously someone who's been mocked a bit outside of the first round for a lot of people. So might be a situation where I don't know. Slots on a roster are tricky. I don't know if they would trade back in this situation without trying to acquire a veteran player as part of that deal. So it's kind of toss up. But there's another name I skipped over intentionally for you.
Oh man,
Jay Huff.
See, I like Huff, but I don't think he really helps this team that much. And obviously, I'm a little bit higher in Huff than some people are. I don't view it that he can play the 5 in the NBA. Like I think he's going to be a Porzingis situation of where it's like if you play him at the 5, anyone who's stronger than like a paper bag is going to be able to push him around.
I see.
Because one of the things with Huff, and this is his major problem, is he is terrible in the post. Like it is literally if anyone posts him up or anyone is facing him up, he will fall for any move you do on him. Like there are so many clips of him in college of where like someone would jab step and he falls for it and they just get an easy like lane to the basket. Of where in the West of where he's playing against so many people that would just be able to
guards. Yeah,
oh, yeah,
I would. That's a good point to bring up about him. I think I do like where he could be, but I think that asking him to fill the void that the Clippers need to compete for a championship next year would be a reach.
Yeah. Like, unless if you're just kind of going with the, fuck it, we don't need him to play great defense, we just need him to shoot threes, then sure, go ahead.
If all you want is floor spacing, yeah.
I mean, it's the fact of, like, he's an okay shot blocker. Like, he's not the world's greatest. Like, I think that's why a lot of people slot him to be able to play the 5, because of the fact that he is a person that is able to, like, he's a very smart shot blocker. Like, he's able to meet people at the rim. He knows when to jump, when not to jump.
Right.
The only problem is it's everywhere else on the defensive end. He's Ryan Anderson.
Yeah.
Where it's a joke when you watch him on defense. And as well of just I think his athleticism, he's not a terrible athlete. Like, he's not, like, a freakish athlete like other players. But, like, I think he's a little too slow to be able to play the 4. He falls, like, that weird, like, not strong enough to play the 5, not fast enough to play the 4. He falls into that weird, like, tweener, where it's not a good place to be. And he's also shown an inability to put weight on. Because I think he's gained a total of, like, 10 pounds since his freshman year in college, and he's a senior. And that's no bueno.
Yeah, that's terrible. It's like the opposite. Like, Luka Garza's out here dropping like 20 pounds doing keto, and this guy needs to add muscle and seemingly can't. There is a concern there, yeah. So,
yeah, like, I just don't.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think it's an ideal fit. Going up against bench bigs, though, having a floor spacing 5 off the bench, if you don't think that there's any need for him to match up. And again, I wouldn't. Hopefully, you have a healthy Serge Ibaka or Zubac, like, if he needs those minutes matchup wise in that series. Sure, but against backup bigs, if you have a 7-1 guy who can stretch the floor, maybe that gives you a matchup advantage out there.
Yeah, and obviously another name that's been thrown out there, which honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I honestly have not heard of this person before.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Raekwon Gray. I think it's how you say his name.
Yeah. He's one of many from Florida State. He literally, I only know about him because of Scotty Barnes. I'll be honest, I'm one of those people. I watch a lot of Florida State games, specifically looking for Scotty Barnes. MJ Walker and Gray both came out this year. I don't know. The problem is his shot. Defensively, I think he can be capable. Day one, he's a solid wing prospect, but like, there's just a hole in his game. He seems like a guy who will work his way onto a undrafted free agent and bust his ass onto like the Raptors, and in like 2 years he'll be basically like junior OG Anunoby or something ridiculous,
Yeah.
Like, he's got a good NBA body. He's seemingly a smart player, but the shot's not good. So until he gets that shot, I don't see him going in the draft, or at least nowhere near the first round. But yeah, not a bad player. I just don't think that. Yeah.
And I'm just kind of looking through some of like the people who could possibly go here. Like, obviously, we kind of do both kind of agree on like a point guard or a center may be an option here, or at least a guard, like a guard in the center.
Yeah, I mean, that's that they have the 2 of the best wings in the NBA right now, and then they've got great tweener wings between Marooks and Batum. So it's kind of like, why would they add more depth there? If anything, I'm looking for another shooting. I mean, assuming the Kennard situation doesn't become part of the trade deal, because we all assume that was why he got this contract, was Kennard plus a pick would make a deal that could match up contractually with something else. Like, could you imagine if they did a swap with like the Warriors, if it was like Kelly Oubre for Kennard and a pick, or Kelly Oubre in like a future for Kennard and a pick, something like that,
Yeah, I think there's
ridiculous
a chance
shit.
Yeah, but I mean, if that's the case and you want to kind of look through your scores, I think Highland would be an option there. Because I actually have Highland going higher than their pick in my mock. If I remember correctly, I have been super high in Highland all year.
Yep.
I would have done a prospect video on him if Jake wasn't already claiming him. So I think he's a player that if he actually got to play in the tournament, I think he would be in everyone's top, like in their first round. I think it's like his offensive ability is literally insane. I think if I had to make a comp for him, I think it's Jamal Crawford.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm really high on him, dude. I like him.
Okay.
I'm staying with it.
We talking 6th man of the year Jamal Crawford, or?
Oh yeah, I'm talking 6th man of the year Jamal Crawford. I'm not gonna be like old man Crawford, or we're like, oh, you still
early in his career, Chicago Bull Jamal Crawford.
Yeah, not best Jamal. We're talking about like absolute best Jamal for this.
Got it. The walking bucket Jamal Crawford.
Yeah. Oh man, you're having to match up against that guy. Good luck, Jamal Crawford. Yeah.
Plus
just
the defense.
Oh yeah. trying to just think of other. Could they be a team to take a swing at Johnny Juzang? Obviously, he doesn't fit. They don't
If
have a
they move
naming
on from
scheme.
Kennard, if they get 2 2s and some other piece for 24 and Kennard, like if they get a starting player, um, I don't think Schroeder would walk across town or across locker rooms, but like I'm trying to think of another starting point guard who might become available. Yikes to the Kemba Walker thought, just don't have it. Um, but if they do have a deal like that and they get 2 2s, and I think Juzang would be someone you could take a shot on who has that ball handler, absolute sharpshooter upside to him. Right now he's definitely riding the high from the tourney, but I don't know if his upside is quite as efficient. But he can
Yeah.
create for himself, which is really nice.
I may as well throw in a guy. I know I know I know you like him. I know Jake likes him. I know Retro
Nope,
really likes him.
not doing it.
What? You don't want to talk about Rokas?
Rokas Jokipides is not the fit for the Clippers. Ain't happening. Not gonna happen. Never gonna happen. I
Yeah.
don't even want to have the conversation because it's so unlikely to happen.
I mean, hey,
Uh,
never say never.
yeah. No, I get you. I get you. Honestly, best situation is like Terrence Mann spends the offseason learning to be a point guard or some shit like that. Like,
True.
if he can get facilitating down, and that's not an easy ask. But that's realistically like if they could just have one of their players take that next step, then this team instantly becomes dangerous. It's
Yeah.
not like they're that far away from being a championship squad and they're all at their best, but they're not at their best is the problem. We're getting
Yeah.
scuffed games out of what's his face? Paul George, so it instantly sets the tone that everybody else needs to step it up. Marooks has been shooting poorly for the majority of the playoffs, so same thing. And those are
Yeah.
two like Marooks is under contract for a while. So you better be comfortable with him.
Oh yeah. And just kind of looking through some other names as well. Do you think Matthew Hurt kind of fits with this team?
Nah,
Kind of. I mean,
I'm
he's got a
still a no
sibling
on that
of.
one.
May as well just throw out a forward center up. In the second round, who CBS had in the really high in the first. I don't know why he was up there. Ariel
Ariel
Hukporti, I think is how you
Hukporti?
say it. Yeah.
Yeah, not well known enough to make that call. I'll be honest, like he's someone who upside's there. Do they put another Euro on the team? I don't believe it. I feel like they want a more for sure thing to happen.
They
Like they're
take
more
Rocco.
likely to take Luca Garza
Oof.
in the second round because they're moving on from like Boogie, and they're like, you know what? If we can find a deal for um Zubats, he's only making 7.5 million. Somebody needs a center badly. Maybe it's the Raptors. If the Raptors don't get Mobley at the top of the draft, maybe the Raptors would do a deal for Zubats, and they could go get Luca Garza, and that way you can start Surge, and then you have Luca come off the bench and fucking kill second units in the NBA.
Yeah. And this is a person I have him going in the first. I think Jake also has him going in the first. Do you think they could be a team who takes a very high swing at Jeremiah Robinson-Earl?
I don't love the fit, but at the same time, he's exactly the kind of player they want. Like, I could see this team wanting a more polished college wing, but at the same time, it's just like he can't stretch the floor really. He has, one gear. He has like one offensive move set. Uh, I'm not in love with him, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him go in the first round, late one. Sure. It just takes one team to fall in love.
Yeah. And obviously, just throwing out just a random name as well, or kind of just a random idea. Do you think there's the possibility that they potentially move on from one of their backup forwards? Like obviously, if they do like a trade, sort of like how you brought up, like if they went for like an Oubre, obviously they wouldn't need a wing at that point. But if like getting like a backup point guard or even another center, kind of taking away potential one of the wings of either like a Marooks or a Batum, I don't think they'd get rid of either of them if they
I
wanted
would,
to.
yeah, I mean, I would prefer both those players over Murphy, but I mean, Murphy's not a bad guy, but if you could land somebody big for a combo of Marooks plus Kennard plus 24, and you got like, I'm trying to see, maybe you get 29 and Javon Carter and something, like maybe.
Yeah, and that's kind of where then I just kind of look at it as a like the Clippers are just such a weird team to draft for because they're a team that I expect them like if they take someone like they're probably going to take a guy who's NBA ready, going to step in right away. But at the same time, they almost strike me as a team they're just going to be like, yeah, fuck it, we'll just take whoever's available. Which basically then makes me strike this name, Dave. I know you question why you so low on everyone's board, low on everyone's boards, Dave. Do they take a shot at Isaiah Todd if he's available?
Why not? He would be the perfect wing. You could mold him, in the same or similar vein, somewhere between Serge Ibaka and Marooks. Like you could make him that 3-and-D wing out there. Look, he's very raw. He has a great body for the NBA though, and he's shown some flashes against G League talent. So I honestly think he's being overlooked by a lot of teams in the NBA. But yeah, I mean, if they can't get a deal done with Batum because maybe there's some falling out or some shit in the offseason and, he wants big money or some shit like that, like, I doubt it. But yeah, you could look at him. Absolutely.
All right. Any last names you want to throw out, or do you think we kind of covered it?
I just want to argue the comment of Luka Garza is not an NBA player. Luka Garza absolutely could be an NBA player. I'm not saying he will be a star. I'm saying he can run a second unit and score against second unit guys. I think he is a number 9 off the bench kind of guy, especially with him trying to cut down weight and get back in shape.
All right. Yeah, that's going to end today's show. Thank you guys so much for watching. Just running through housekeeping one last time. If you want to join the Discord, go to the description below. The link will be there. You can talk about basketball. I believe right now in the NBA chat, we just started talking about the next Nets Bucks, or at least Lolian's talking about it. You get to experience Lolian's wonderful trolling.
Yeah.
As well, and they're just talking about, whenever the NFL season starts, the NFL chat will be popping off. There's soccer talk today. Obviously, game stuff going on today, so gaming chat's been going off. If you want to talk about wrestling, things like that in there. As well, if you want to support us at a monetary value, you can go to patreon.com/MVPvids. There's the 4 tiers. Once again, my mock should be going up by the end of the day. There, you can make fun of me for $10, or wait a week and make fun of me for free. That's fair. If you decide to do. You got anything else you want to shout out, or do you think that's it?
WPN.
Yeah, WPN. All right, we'll see you guys next time.